On that front, what can you say about Oliver and the impact he made throughout that game? It seemed not only in but capped by that forced fumble.
Yeah, big game. Ed had a big game. You could feel his play out there, right? Whether it was the run game, the pass game, a couple good hits on the quarterback, a couple big plays in the run game behind the line of scrimmage, and then forcing the fumble. Really the entire team, he didn't quit. There was no quit in that team and in our team, and that's a good thing as we look to move forward.
I know you've joked in the past about us asking him about his consistency. How much do you want to see more that this is the start of something?
For Ed? Yeah, I mean, it's important, right? You want to continue to grow and improve and evolve, and he wants to continue to take his game to another level, and he's shown that he's worked and put himself in that position. Now it's the week in and week out intentionality that you take into every week, and you see what he can do when he's in that space.
What did you see from Dorian Strong in his first outing in a big spot?
Yeah, young player going out there, getting his first experience. There's like all of us, he wants some plays back, but I thought he really did some good things. I mean, the touchdown saving tackle on one of the long runs by Henry. You don't see a lot of corners finishing off that play, especially when it's one-on-one with Derrick Henry. So I thought I was impressed by that, how hard he played. Those are good first steps, that we can grow with and teach around.
Sean, can you explain the rule, how it was explained to you? Maybe there's a lot of confusion on the 2-point conversion. What happened, what didn't happen? Could you explain
with
Keon being called out of bounds, coming back? There's a lot of confusion. People are asking us, and I'm not clear on the rule either. Could you explain that?
Well, yeah, I mean, and to be totally clear, I haven't gone through it inch by inch yet, but what came up on the field was quarterback in the pocket versus out of the pocket, and the call of being able to push a guy out of bounds versus not, right? So that's the call was made of illegal touching or whatever they called, and then I didn't have a replay, but upstairs had a replay, and at first we thought, hey, ICT, illegal contact with quarterback in the pocket, and then they thought maybe, our people in the press box thought maybe it was out of the pocket too. So I haven't gone back yet and been specific with that play yet. There was a lot going on, and that was could have become a big play for us right there.
Sean, what can I know it's week one, a win like that do for this team moving forward?
Yeah, it is week one, and again, like I said, you're looking for qualities that stand out. It is great to win. We don't take that for granted. What you're also looking for, though, other than the result, is the qualities that lead to a successful, good, sound football team. And one of those things is winning a close game early in the year. Coming back from down 15 or what have you is also important in winning those games, and building resiliency, never quitting, staying connected as a team throughout, staying present, being able to figure it out together. I think those are great early signs. We've got a lot of work to do at the same time, and it is one game. And so in this league, if you get too high on the horse, you will fall rather quickly. So we have to want fans to enjoy it, and we're enjoying it, but we have to do our jobs and start to turn our attention to the Jets.
Joey Bosa talked about how after the game it was like, I guess I didn't realize what this culture was. He was talking about, he was admitting that at some point he's like, all right, boys, let's try to put some good stuff on film from he's conditioned that way. And he was saying, I need to start thinking a little differently around here. With that culture, and you're obviously in it, so maybe he's seeing it a lot differently than you've experienced as it's grown. When did you get to a point that we have the ball with a chance to win? We're going to win this game? The confidence and the Like, we have Josh Allen, we have the ball here.
Yeah. When did I get there?
Well, I'm all right. So I guess us as media and as fans, so there's the cynicism that it needs to get chipped off over the years. Maybe you felt like that in 2017.
Man, I said we could probably take an hour and talk through this question, Tim. I think anytime you go somewhere and you're brought in for a reason, it's usually because there hasn't been enough winning, right? So you're going into a situation where there is maybe some of that, and you have to. That's one of the first steps in building the culture is when you're on the crux of winning, being able to win and taking that's a real kind of seesaw moment, and being able to win and get over the here we go again, we found a way to lose type of mindset, type of result. And that's been big for us. I was very intentional about making sure we got past that as soon as we could. And with the players and staff that we had in 2017, we got through that somewhere early on or middle of the season, whenever it was. Maybe it was the, I think Tre'Davious White interception against Kansas City when, we had come off of losing 3 straight games and went out there and were able to win at the end of the game. And so it's moments like that I think puts you at least over that obstacle, that challenge, and the mindset starts to change and the culture kind of speeds up a little bit as well. But that's real. And it's like an invisible obstacle that you got to get over. And we're in a good spot.
With Josh, ball in his hands at the end of the game, what's the mindset there? You need a field goal to win. Josh Allen has the ball.
Yeah, I mean he's the best quarterback in the NFL for a reason. Very comfortable. We are, as a result, very comfortable in those situations. I can't even tell you what time we took the ball, what was left. I just know no timeouts, and I looked up and I'm like, got enough, we're good. We practiced those moments quite a bit, and like I mentioned last night, he has been wired since he came here to want the ball in those situations. He's extremely calm and composed in those situations, and he's an extreme competitor. Like if there was extreme games, he would be like there are extreme games, but I'm saying like he would be a contestant because he loves to compete. I mean, whatever it is, the guy loves to compete, and he's really good at it, competing overall. So we feel extremely comfortable in those moments, and it goes beyond Josh, though, right? From the practice, from the execution piece, and I think that's they go hand in hand.
That calmness, sorry for you to interrupt. That calmness from Josh, do you feel like that's been there throughout his career, or is that something in these kind of situations that he's improved on in recent years?
I think he came with a good amount of it. When you're playing the way he did in college and performing the way he did, that kind of chip on your shoulder attitude mindset works well in those situations. And maybe, and you'd have to ask him, but maybe what part has developed here has been maybe some more of the understanding the defenses you're going to see, understanding how the games could flow in those situations, and situational football. I mean, last night, Josh was tremendous when we got the ball into the lower red zone there, of just his awareness of what was going on and being able to slow the game down. And so that my dialogue with him and his dialogue with us on the sideline was phenomenal and high level.
If you look at the defense, you went back, watched the tape, you probably dive into all 3 levels and things you want to improve on, but specifically with the safety, because we talked so much about that throughout the summer. what did you see from them, and how do you balance any concern because you spend so much time looking for answers there, and when you come out the first game, maybe it doesn't go well. How do you balance that moving forward in terms of, back into the question, but looking for an answer that might not be on the team right now, if that's the case?
Yeah, that's I let Brandon handle that part of it. For me, it's instilling confidence and belief, reinstilling belief and confidence in the guys who were out there, and working with those guys and being fully confident in those guys. Yeah, it wasn't our best moments last night, and they know that, and they are looking forward to putting in the work this week to improve, and whether it's tackling, doing things better, and in all parts of the game, first down, second down, third down, so run and pass. So there's going to be some games like that. There's going to be some games like that for younger guys in particular, and you've got to stay committed to the process and your belief in yourself, and eventually the cream will rise to the top, as they say.
You
John,
talked
for
about,
all the stuff, for all the support you get and give to those fans, what's your response to or reaction to what happened in that end zone where the fan, kind of got into it with DeAndre Hopkins and Lamar Jackson? I believe he's been now banned from the stadium.
Say that again.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, I'm only aware that it went down. I don't know all the details, so it's really unfair for me to make any comment publicly about it. At the end of the day, we've got a great city and a great fan base, and like anything else, there needs to be mutual respect between those on the field and those off the field.
you talked about Josh and communication on the sidelines. Take us into the communication you're having with Taves and with Matt Prater, and because you're not going to have a timeout, you got to run kind of the fire drill sort, but you also have a little bit of time. Can you just kind of walk us through that whole sequence a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of situations. It's funny that when they're managed a certain way and it works out, versus that nobody says anything, but when they don't work out, everyone's resulting, right, and saying, oh, you should have done this, should have done that. But some pretty cool moments came up last night in the game that probably aren't talked about a lot. I mean, the execution of the 2-minute drive before half, that last play, high level, right, to get the ball out of bounds the right way and get the right amount of distance that we needed, and with 1 second left. 7 seconds is tight to be able to execute that and get it done. And again, we practiced it over and over, and the players executed. Joe made a great call. Josh made a great throw, protection, all that type of stuff. That's high level right there. So that could have been the play that decided the game if you just kind of roll it back and see what was the difference. Scoring before half, the drive you're talking about. You're going down and you have no timeouts. So, one of the things that you have to do is get your field goal unit on without being able to stop the clock, potentially, with a timeout in this case. There's other ways to stop the clock, don't get me wrong. But the way that was coming down, there was a lot of different directions that could have gone. And I think we usually kind of follow up on it, rehash it from both sides. That was a pretty interesting situation unfolding in front of our eyes right there, and it could have gone a couple different ways, which I'm fascinated by. And so not going into too much detail on that strategy-wise going forward, but yeah, we knew that we weren't able to stop the clock. We wanted it to run. We wanted to drain them of their timeouts. When you have an elite quarterback on the other side, you don't want to give him the ball back. And so we wanted to drain the clock out, get them to burn their timeouts, which we did, and yet get the points on the board that we needed. So really for us, it's a certain time on the clock where we feel comfortable getting that exchange, where it's still comfortable for Matt to slow down and kick a good quality kick there. So I thought the players did a phenomenal job, and probably, again, things that aren't talked about. Matt's been talked about, and rightfully so, but Reed and geez Louise, Brad, thank you. I mean, all these new names, Reed and Brad, phenomenal job of, if you kick that thing with 7 seconds, there's still time on the clock we've got to kick it off, so they did a great job of getting that clock all the way down to right around 3, which is where we wanted to snap it so that there was no time left on the clock. So, it was well executed, some things even on that play that we can improve on as well as we move forward.
Do you have a routine that you go through every game when it comes to watching film?
What, do I have a
A
routine?
routine, yeah, like this is the way I do it, no matter what. And the reason I'm
Yeah.
asking is, did you watch the film last night differently, especially on defense? Because was there anything that drew you? I guess if you watch it the same way, no matter what, then my second question is moved, which is.
Go ahead. Do I watch the game differently?
If you watch the film the same way after every game, then my next question doesn't matter.
No, I do. I watch. Well, no, I don't watch it the same every game the same way. It's really how do I want to allocate my time and prioritize offense, defense, special teams, and I could tell you that today I started with the special teams and went through offense and then into the defensive side, and so that's just how I did it today. Usually, it changes week to week based on where I feel like I'm needed most.
My assumption might be that 40 points, the way that maybe you wanted to look at that first, and I was going to ask what you wanted to really dissect.
Well, there's a lot in there that I want to dissect, and that's, why don't you tell me about your whole day, Tim, also, and where you allocate your time. Pretty in-depth question. I love it. No, I mean, I knocked out the first two. I appreciate it. The first two, I wanted to get through, felt pretty good. But I wanted to be able to spend the rest of the morning, with the defensive staff and get in there a little bit and roll up my sleeves a little bit there. So that's kind of how my morning went. I'll be happy to share with you tomorrow's schedule as well if you'd like.
Trying to look for some insight here.
Yeah, no, I get it. I love it.
How much has Dory Blades' development and what he's shown you guys since starting experience last year, how much has that given you more confidence that you could use base as a change-up? When you're playing a team that uses heavy personnel or that's going to give you the looks that Baltimore did.
Yeah, it's good to be able to put a little bit of more size on the field from time to time. It's more, tell me where, how we are health-wise, how we are game plan-wise, and situationally, what situation, may come up in the game. So I thought Dorian did some really good things last night, very physical, played fast, played hard. So it's kind of a, week-to-week type of deal there, for sure.
Sean, how gratifying was it to see Keon, more so as the second half went along, just put in that type of performance after the weeks and months that we've seen him continually take those steps forward?
Yeah, one of the joys of coaching, right? Watching a young player, nobody wants to watch anybody kind of go through some adversity or experience some bumps in the road, but it does build resiliency, and when you can push yourself through it through hard work and perseverance and mindset, you see the results like last night. And it may not every night, every game be like that, but he's in a really good spot, and I'm extremely proud of him.
Sean, what other plays or players do you think are not being talked enough about after last night? So much happened.
Yeah, no, you go back and look at it and you're like, yeah, I almost forgot that play happened. It was early in the game, whatever it was. I mean, you look at plays, every play in the NFL makes a difference. Again, people see the kick to win the game, but so many plays before that. The defense forces basically not 3 and outs, but almost 3 and outs at the end of the game, right? That don't get talked about, and they forced a field goal early in the game. Now, what happened in between those is what needs to get fixed, and where we need to grow, right? A lot of young guys there, right? So, but the field goal they forced early in the game, little things that show up. I mean, it's on both sides of the ball. You look at the kickoff that went short of the landing zone by them. Pre-snap, some of the pre-snap things that happened. Our first 3rd and 7, I think, there was a neutral zone infraction on their part. Gets us to 3rd and 2, changes the complexion of the 3rd down. We convert. I think we dumped it over to Ty, and he gets a big gain into the low red zone there. So those are the nuances of the game that it changes the game, and they're huge. and you're wanting to see those things that we practice come to life early in the season. And so you're getting kind of, when you're able to affirm those things that we're doing well, it helps the buy-in and I guess the validity of things that we're doing in terms of how we practice, what we practice. Some players are just like, hey, I just want to play football, and I get that, but there's a deeper element to the game of football of understanding the game in depth, and we as coaches get paid to do that, and then we try and educate the players on that, at least to a certain extent, so they can understand the situation. As I mentioned with Dalton, Josh hit Dalton before half, so it's and I should give credit to Mark Lubick and Dennis Locke. They do a great job in the press box. John Perry's up there as well from a replay standpoint and rule standpoint. So all those guys gave us great information and knowledge last night.
While you're on that note, I know you touched on this a little bit last night. There's a real good debate that might be ever changing on what to do down 15, right? I mean, you could go now for the 2,
Yeah.
as you did, or you could wait to make it a 1-score game by kicking the extra point. Is that kind of an ever-moving target for you? Maybe does a 40-point game matter versus maybe a 20-point game? You know what I mean? Like, how do you process thinking through that math with your staff throughout the season?
Well, there are some of these kind of, hey, well, you could argue either way, right? And we have our core things, and we have some of these that are interesting analytics, right, or decisions. And, again, that's where I think these over here, definitely these are concrete. Everyone probably agrees too. These over here could be argued either way, mostly when they don't work out, right? So, but down 15 with X amount of time on the clock, one way or the other, there's a debate on what is the best approach. We felt like it was a high scoring game, and we wanted to try and at least go for 2 early. So we knew if we didn't get it, what we would have to do, how we would have to play. And so that's how the game kind of trended from there on in. And then we had the opportunity to do it later in the game. And I just felt like, as I mentioned before, I wanted to see them play offense. I wanted to put the pressure on them to play offense and not potentially declare the game on that 2-point had we gone for it there, if that makes sense. So I just felt like it changed as we got closer and closer and closed the gap. And I felt like we had momentum, and momentum's, I know, not able to be measured, but somewhere it's out there, right? So it's, I think that's all the fascinating pieces of the game and the game within the game that unfolds every week, really.
Deshaun, last night you said that game was going to be one of those stories that's told for a long time. So when you finally got to the quiet moment, what kind of rolled through your mind the most?
Yeah. I think what was interesting was how calm our team was through it all and how focused they stayed. The headsets, you guys don't get a chance to hear the headsets, but the headsets were buzzing consistently through the game from start to finish in a good way. Like you didn't know whether we were up or down in a healthy way. The players kept playing. They didn't quit. Again, that's, as a coach, those are pivotal moments early in the year, and you're trying to get, you don't want close games, but you want to be able to win one early in the year. It doesn't do everything for you, but it's a start. It's a step in the right direction. I do feel like, the moments that you can experience as a coach, the moments that I've been blessed to experience here in this stadium, with this organization, when they're playing Mr. Brightside, that stands out. That stood out to me last night, after the game, and you're seeing the players. You're seeing the faces of the players. These are grown men playing football that are unbelievable, that had an unbelievable amount of joy on their faces last night. It's just, you get reminders once in a while of why you do it. And I think that's pretty cool.
Coach, you mentioned how calm the players were and how calm Josh Allen is in those big moments, but with like 1:30 left on the clock, no timeouts, and and so much communication going on in your headset trying to plan for a touchdown or a game-winning field goal. How are you able to be so calm in those moments as well?
Yeah, I think we do a really good job, Maddie, of rehearsing it. We're not perfect. Nobody is, but we try and be intentional about our planning. It's like going on a road trip, right? Getting out the old map, right? And trying to plan it out ahead of time. But also, hey, what if it doesn't go that way and it goes this way or the other way? And there's a lot of people that use the mental visualization things, and listen, as coaches, we're no different. We're performers as well, and you want to be able to execute in those moments and execute well. And I think that's a big piece of it as well. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
You want that now, or do you want?
Like how you looked at the old guy who mentioned the word match.
Who do I look at?
Me. All that back and forth, he would tell you about his 4:30 a.m. large pizza.
What?
That was his schedule.
4:30 this morning, large
I didn't
pizza?
leave the stadium till 4. That's what happens in China. Yeah, I left at 4. Matt left at 4:30.
You guys gone to bed yet?
Got a couple hours.
Only briefly.
the week?
The being able to celebrate in the locker room after those guys, I'll take that. Now I just got to do everything I can to be able to do that again. Favorite part of the week, and then after that is talking to you guys for sure. Yeah.
We can celebrate a little more.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. We need some energy right now. Need some energy, that's for sure.
I think it was Dion, I saw him on an interview last night, he said something about Joe Brady told us all week, don't worry about the scoreboard, you just make sure you just keep playing football, make sure you just keep going. Can you take us into the mentality, like, what you mean by that?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the score, just go out there and keep playing every play.
Yeah, I think you can get look, there's a time and a place where the score does matter, right? And it's like, hey, we got 2 possessions left and we're down 2 scores, and the attempt that, but outside of that, the NFL is such a unique game that you can be playing either so well, or you could be, it's just not be your kind of day, but you're going to have a chance at the end of the game. Somehow it just works that way. And when you don't look at the scoreboard and just focus on the next play, the next drive, the next opportunity, usually, good things happen. And especially when you go against a good outfit and the team that we faced, like, they're going to score points, right? And sometimes you can get caught up. I'm sure teams do that. The same thing playing Josh Allen, right? You play Josh Allen, you're like, oh man, they scored. We got to hurry up and score. And it's just like, then you start making decisions and you start playing outside of yourself. And so when I say don't look at the scoreboard, it's like, hey, let's just focus on ourselves, just play the next play, and good things are naturally going to happen. And look, last night, I didn't think that was exactly how it was going to go. But them focusing and then not blinking, just knowing that as long as we got 17 and the guys in that locker room, as long as there's time on the clock, we got a chance, and we proved it last night. And you're always trying to learn a lot about your team early in the season, just throughout the season, and we found a way to win. And early, I thought that was important, and we didn't look at the scoreboard, didn't blink, and found a way to go 1-0.
Joe, through the first 3 quarters, Keon and Josh Palmer, I think, combined for 3 catches. You look at the end of the game, they have 13 catches, about 170 yards. What changed for those 2 guys in the fourth quarter?
Well, I think naturally early in the season, you're, I think it's both sides, offense and defense, trying to get a feel of the, what's new in the next season, right? Look, we just played an outstanding team, outstanding defense. They were very different than the last time we played them. Sometimes you can get caught up trying to figure that out. And when you're not in a rhythm, we had a couple 3 and outs that it's hard to get back in a rhythm of kind of seeing, allowing us to be able to, hey, spread the ball around, get some touches. In the second half, you started to get in a feel of exact kind of how the game's being played. And you're kind of have to kind of throw the ball at that point. We were kind of in a 2-minute drill basically the whole second half. Well, naturally, you're going to spread it around and, give those guys opportunities to be able to throw it. Would have loved to be able to obviously get people more involved in the first half. Those 2 3 and outs were something that was big that kept me up last night. But look, I was the off season, those guys kind of working. It was good in the second half to see those guys make the big plays, especially at the end. We wanted the ball with the game on the line, and seeing Keon and Josh kind of make those plays at the end, those were huge.
Can you take us through how the first 2-point conversion, you get the penalty, and it's down to a yard?
Yep.
What was going on that call?
I think I think they had 12 guys on the field, so we're on the sideline. We moved to the 1-yard line, and hey, we're going for 2, and it was a pure progression play. And Josh is late in the progression, is Keon with it, and we got to make sure that we're saving more room at the back of the end zone so that we're not, there's not an ability to get pushed out. We look, our 2-point plays weren't good enough last night, and those are the things that you can win and lose ball games with. We learned that in the AFC Championship game. So we got to do a better job when we get those opportunities. Whether we got to go 1 yard or whether we got to go 2, we got to do a better job.
What's your philosophy like on planning those plays? Like, it's different than the rest of the games. Like, how do you kind of start like, here's what's going to make sense in a 2-point conversion, given where it is on the field?
Yeah, I think there's every defense is different, and also what you're doing, it's different than just a 3rd and goal at the 2-yard line type of play, different than a 4th and goal at the 2-yard line play, or because there's really there could be consequences in terms of you pick the ball off, they can score, but sometimes for the defense, there's not a consequence with it. And so it's a unique thing that when you're game planning, you might have a feel of, they might have had 2 in the last 3 years, and so you're just trying to get a feel of what the coverages they might do in those situations. A lot of times, as always, if you're passing the ball down there, there's going to be scrambles and 2-point plays. Look, it's something that we obviously have to evaluate because, anytime coach is like, hey, put the offense back on the field, we got to be ready to go score. And so didn't like how we executed in those situations last night.
Jackson Ross catches that pass. He's known as the blocking type.
Mhm.
But is that something that you kind of have deep down the play sheet that you can turn to at some point if you need it? Or is that something develops throughout the game where maybe you see that might be an opportunity for us to do something?
Yeah, well, like really the way the second half was kind of going, we were living in 11 personnel a lot. We had an opportunity, we came out in the first drive in the second half, we're able to get some 12 personnel going and getting the run going. We were able to get some 22 in there. But then once you're kind of playing catch up a little bit, you're kind of in 11 personnel kind of throwing. Well, defense did a great job and got the turnover, and we had an opportunity where now we're just playing normal offense. So we had an opportunity to be able to get back in 13 personnel and not sit there and say, hey, we have to make it a no huddle 11 personnel. It seemed very similar to the Rams game last year, where it was just like, hey, regardless of anything, we're going to stay at the same pace, regardless if it's a 2-point game or whether it's we're just going to stay in that no huddle kind of mindset. But that was kind of give us a breather of, hey, let's get into 13 and see if we can take advantage of a seam throw. And Josh was just on target. It was an incredible throw. And Hawsey to be able to make his first NFL catch, caught it like 3 times, but found a way to get it done.
Frantic as it gets in those situations. I mean, to put it in layman's terms, when you're up there and things are just going, it's almost like, I don't know, like a triage in an emergency room in some ways. How do you balance staying calm versus knowing that you might be throwing the kitchen sink at everything in that sense? I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself right, but is there a wanting to throw the kitchen sink out there just to see what sticks?
Are you saying towards you're saying in the end of the game, like the crazy situational 2-minute situation? You're talking like early in the game type of mindset.
I'm talking when you're down by 15 points and there's nothing left to lose.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a lot to lose. You can lose it on, if I think in those moments is when people try to play outside of the system. And in those moments, we don't need anybody to do anything extraordinary. We just need to make the ordinary plays. And I thought what Josh did last night and those guys of being able to take 5-yard completions, then take the 12-yard completions, then take a double move and potentially take a shot, but find your way to go down the field and score 1 touchdown. You can't get 2 touchdowns until you get the first one. And I think oftentimes people play with the mindset of like, all right, I got to force it and I got to make a decision now. Well, we're going to get a couple. There's more drives left. There's a time and a place where it's like, hey, we got 1 drive left. We got to go 40 yards and we're going to have to take a shot. But in those situations, we weren't there yet. And, the growth and he was so calm and just being able to just command out there that, there wasn't a person on our sidelines or in our box that didn't have any faith that as long as 17's out there, good things are going to happen.
I like that answer because it didn't answer my question anyways. But as a follow-up, how much is that a learned thing? I mean, you just can't go out there like day one and do that. But how much do you get the experience from what happened against the Rams, against the Lions?
Yeah.
And knowing how much is that a learned thing?
Well, yeah, it's I think, when you say it's like a triage, like for a play caller, it's not like sometimes I watch a game on television. I'm like, damn, what would I call in those situations? Like, this is hectic. But when you're in those moments, it's as calm as can be because this is what we do. It's nowhere near a doctor, but like a doctor, an emergency room doctor, we're sitting there thinking that's crazy. Nowhere near what I do is anything near that. But like, this is what I prepare. And this is what I wouldn't be able to get a deadline, paper in or anything like that, but you guys don't blink and can do that. So, but yeah, in those moments though, you're going to rely on your guys. You're going to trust your guys. You hope that the play calls that we're calling, they're understanding the intent and the why, what we're calling it. Look, Coach McDermott does a great job. We work these situations on a regular basis. So end to half, end to game. That's what you kind of live for. So in those moments right there, it was down by 2 minutes, it was your love and life right there.
Talking about Jackson a few minutes ago, Alec only played 3 snaps in this game. Is there anything that goes into this offseason? You bring Jackson in, and obviously Alec played that role last year, a different role.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean for Alec long term in terms of the season and getting him involved?
Yeah, I think it's a game to game thing. I think a lot of first half wasn't where we wanted it to be. I think we had 5 drives. You take away that last field goal drive, we had 4 drives. We had the long drive to start, and then we have a couple 3 and outs. So it's hard to get in the rhythm, hard to get utilizing your different personnel groupings and be able to kind of see how the game's being played and get more people involved. And I think once you do that, then you see Alec Anderson on the field a little more. We were living a little in 2 off schedule, second and long situations, early, or we're second and shorts and we're not converting to get the first down, to then be able to get in the rhythm, to then be able to utilize different personnel groupings. And so I think the Alex situation is one, it's a week to week thing, but I'd love for him to be able to play more than he played. Some of that was just a product of kind of where the game kind of was in the second half, and we weren't in a rhythm early.
Joe, how can momentum from one week carry into the next week in terms of the energy that you're bringing into the next game?
Yeah, maybe I'm maybe a little different with this, but I don't believe you stack wins in the NFL. The team we're playing this week does not care about what happened to us yesterday, but we can, in those moments, we can fall back on what we experienced yesterday. There shouldn't be a game we play this year that a player doesn't believe we have a chance to win. So I believe in that. It's hard to win in the NFL, and so winning again, you don't get a lot of sleep last night, but I'm sure the guys that they felt a little better waking up with it. So I think from that sense, you have a little more energy going into this week. But I like to think if our process is where it needs to be, we're going to start over. We were just as hard watching tape as we would win or loss. We're going to come in Wednesday ready to go with the same approach. And we got a huge division game this week. And so obviously it was important to win yesterday, but I want our guys to know, like, hey, we got to start over. And I hope guys kind of understand how important the process is for that.
Was there anything about what Josh did in the fourth quarter specifically that stood out to you? He had a bunch of records, obviously scored a lot of points. Was there anything that he was doing that stands out to you?
I don't know how long is this press conference. I mean, it was. The quarterback play in the second half. I'd say some of the alerts and the checks and the ball placement. You're calling it sometimes. You don't really get to appreciate it while you're calling it because you're having to call the next play. But a fan of football and being able to see what he can do is, there's a reason he's the MVP. And the city of Buffalo getting to stay and watch him play for this many years, it's a treat. And that's where the game of football is. We got all these there's 2 great quarterbacks playing yesterday, and the game of football is in a great place. But seeing what Josh was able to get to and seeing the coverages and diagnosing it and knowing where the answers and where to go with the clock going down. It was at all-time high, and that's what happened, and the game slows down from at this point. He was able to see kind of how the game was being played all game, and all right, I seen this look. All right, time to get to this, and but yeah, I can be on and on. There was a lot of moments. There were a lot of wows, that's for sure.
In those moments, like we talked about, like the 2-minute drills, and like being prepared and his calmness in those moments. Have you seen him improve in any areas over the years in those situations, like whether it's his calmness or like how he's reading the situation? Has that changed over time, or do you feel like since you've worked with him, he's kind of?
Yeah, I think it was unique because I was on the sideline with him. Like, he was always calm. I'll never forget the Minnesota Vikings game where we fumbled backed up. The game was over, and the feeling of, oh my gosh, that I just potentially lost us the game in that situation. And I looked at him, and he was as calm as can be and just let us right down the field to tie it to go into overtime. That's who he is. He is you can't play this game without riding the highs and lows, and he's in those situations. Like, that's what quarterbacks kind of live for. The great quarterbacks, to get the ball in a 2 minute to go win the football game, like, that's what they want. And you got to love that. And just seeing him be able to execute and not flinch in those situations. It's, as you guys know, I can talk on and on. I love that guy so much, but it was definitely a treat for everybody that was there last night.
I asked Sean about the communication between him and Chris Tabor and kicking aspect of it. How about you and Josh, communication on the last drive, the last minute or so, timeouts, where to place the ball, timing on the clock? Can you guys take us into that communication you have with him?
Yeah. Fortunately, like I said, we do this so much that we know the range that we have to get to. he knows the type of plays that we're thinking, as we're going into the drive. Obviously did a great job just finding some easy completions. The biggest thing in those 2-minute situations is just getting the drive started. Right, did a good job finding the first completion to Khalil and then Keon, and then he's using his legs. Once you get into field goal range, right? So now we made the great throw. We had the false start. He made the great throw to Josh Palmer. That was an absolute dime. Now we're right on, it's where I'm learning it's a new kicker. Obviously he's been a great kicker for so long, but in those moments, boom, it happens fast, and just knowing where the range is. Do we have to get closer? Are we in range? He's kicked like 80-yard field goals in the NFL at times in Denver. So we have such an experienced staff with Tabes, and coach, that it was very calm on the headsets. Josh obviously made a great throw, to Keon, in that last play. And then it was just a matter of, hey, are they going to use timeouts? Are they going to try to, there was a lot of chess match in that end of what are they going to do in those situations? Where do we want the ball? Do we want the ball in the left hash? Do we want it in the middle? How much time do we need to be able to run on the field? So there's a lot that goes on, but again, these are the things that we work, in the beginning of practices, sometimes that you can go out at practice in a training camp and it just looks like we're just going through the motions, but there's so much intent behind it. And it's really cool to see it kind of come into action.
Along the same lines, talk about the calmness it takes to set up the game-winning field goal. Can you take us through when you see the field goal come in, through you and your staff, the guys running the booth, like celebration that kind of ensues from your angle before you get down to the locker room? Like, how do you guys enjoy and celebrate that moment?
I take a sigh of relief. There's a lot of plays last night, a lot of highs and lows. There's an excitement. You can obviously hear it in my voice, like you guys learned last week with me. I'm very excited during the presser, but no, it's exciting. And then you get to the locker room, and man, just, you guys know how much I love my guys, and being able to get in the locker room and be able to celebrate with them, and just seeing the energy, seeing the team, the offense and the defense celebrating together. Like, that's why we do what we do. And so in those moments, look, it's the coaching, it takes a lot out of you. You're mentally on for, 4 hours just it's the chess match. And again, they're great coaches on the other side of the ball. And, I'm just fortunate I got Josh Allen to, a lot of times like last night just bails you out. Right. But you find a way to get the win, and nothing else matters at the end of the season. We don't remember the scores of these games. You just remember the wins and the losses. And I'm glad we find a way to pull out of that one. Yeah. Where do I start? Right. Well, I think the first one, we had without getting into calls, Josh got into we give Josh a lot of our calls have 2 plays, right? So Josh got into a second play call, and they blitzed the corner on the second one. So we're kind of behind the chains. And then, we didn't execute well on our tempo third down. And, next thing we're run off the field. And, that's never what you want. You get in a rhythm there, you can be able to take a shot, you're able to kind of go with it. The next one, we obviously drop the screen, to get going. We find an easy completion on the under. We're living in a 3rd and long. And, again, I'm never going to question Josh Allen getting into alert. We were one of the best teams in the league at receiver screens last year. They didn't work last night. But we're not going to stop that moving forward. Depending on the situations and whatnot, they're not on every play call. But if he wants to get to it, I'm going to trust him, just like some of the get tos he got to in the 4th quarter. We have to do a better job executing in those situations. But the biggest thing is I got to get our offense in a better rhythm. And in order to do that, I got to get Josh in a rhythm, early with that. And so every game we take some learning from, and it's never going to be perfect. Sometimes we just got to find a way to get a first down, right? Like in the first half, when we got a first down, we found a way to get points. When we didn't, generally speaking, last year we were pretty good at not getting 3 and outs. But when you go 3 and outs, you're putting the ball right back to the defense. You're not flipping the field. You're not helping field position. And the longer we're on the field, usually good things happen. And so without getting the detailed in the calls, and I obviously got to do a much better job. I wasn't good enough last night.
You mentioned the wide receiver screens there. Were there times, especially maybe early in the game, I don't know if conservative is the right word, but were there times when watching the game back, you would have maybe preferred a bit more of an aggressive approach in pushing the ball down the field?
Yeah, I think, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it's hindsight, right? Sometimes I try not to, try not to judge always my decisions based off the results. Some of it is, hey man, like that one, I wanted to get Key on a touch, just get him an easy completion, right? At that point we had gone 2 drives, hadn't get him a touch, and just tried to get the drive started with, again, a receiver screen that we felt, again, they had a little different empty check than they had shown, we dropped it, didn't even get it going. So I don't think it was necessarily a conservative approach. They didn't work. And so I think naturally when they don't work, it looks like we're not trying to push the ball. The original play calls, were potentially runs that were going to be pushing it down the field. And we felt like it was a favorable look to be able to, especially on the 3rd down, to get to the screen to Dalt. And they didn't work. But some of it also was getting the feel of, again, I got to be better than last night, but some of it was getting the feel of the way that the defense was being played too. It was, when you had, like I said, when you had the 3 and out in the second one after the first drive, you're still trying to get a feel of how the game's being played. And that's where I got to do a good job of trying to figure out the adjustments and kind of roll. When you follow a 3 and out with a 3 and out, you're kind of still don't have a good feeling of how the game's being played. And so, conservative or not, we got to find a way to get a first down there. And once you get the first down, I can get a better feel of how the game's going. And, at the end of the day, I need to keep the ball. I don't need to keep the ball in Josh's hands, but when the ball is in Josh's hands, when it's not just 2 screens and a couple of runs from that standpoint, it makes it a little hard for him to get in a rhythm, if that makes sense.
Thanks,
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Let's go.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
He didn't sleep enough.
What movie is that from? Chris Farley. Did you say, oh my God?
That's,
Chris Farley, isn't it?
it's Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy.
When he's doing the thing on the desk with the catching the car.
Oh, yeah, with the ambulance. Great movie. Great movie. Good to go?
How impressed were you by what Ed Oliver was able to do to force people as a back?
Yeah, I mean, I made it, I keep it real with the defense all the time and pointed them out specifically. Not only to me is that the best overall game he's played, but one of the better, it was a really good performance. And it's a credit to the way he's practiced over training camp. I think you guys saw it, and how disruptive he's been. Really cool to see Ed, even from last year to this year, has matured in a tremendous way. But and I'm talking football maturity, and he's really becoming a leader, which is cool to see. And it was great. It was great.
Sean talked about little things that kind of go unnoticed in a game. We see the stats, we see the sack, we see the strip.
Yeah.
There's a play in the 4th quarter where he drives the guard back. Derek has to go left, and everybody now is flowing to the play where there's no hole.
Yep.
Can you just kind of take us into how that all comes together and what it means?
Yeah. I mean, for D-line, a lot of times they make plays that are not seen, right? And they're not going to show up we turn them into stats and we call them factors. So whether that's taking 2 blockers, allowing a linebacker to run free because they're going to hang it. There's a lot of things that go into it, but all those little things, Sally, you're talking about, they go unnoticed a lot of times, and it's good that you noticed it. But I mean, there's a lot of unsung heroes, and I'll give you a great example. Ed Sack, I believe it was the first 3rd and long.
First drive.
Yep, first drive. They had converted to, I think, 3rd and shorters, and then there was a penalty, and then they ended up in 3rd and 7, maybe. Greg, on the defensive left side, rushes the edge, counters at the level. Lamar peeks at him to escape, can't escape because Greg's doing his job, tries to step up, and here's Ed. So that's an example of not just Ed, but another guy that, and that is very meaningful. And that is us growing and building together, with different parts like Joey Bosa being in there and all that, and us getting in sync and getting in rhythm with each other in NFL games.
You can't put a helmet sticker on a guy like you would in college for
So, yeah.
How do you reward that?
Yeah, I mean, we show the defense and celebrate it. We celebrate all the good things, and we are very firm with the things that need to be corrected. And certainly we had enough of those, and there was a lot of good yesterday, but, the in-between wasn't good, and we need to get that corrected quickly.
Taking that into account and knowing that there's got to be a little bit of patience with some of the things, but no excuses.
That's right.
How difficult, or how are you able to swallow, just some of the numbers like 238 yards rushing?
Yeah.
That you gave. How difficult is that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the most important stat is the W. The most important stat is the letter. And, no one in the defensive room thinks anything of that nature was acceptable, right? You look at, I think, 3rd and 6+, we were 6 for 8, which is a good thing. They were 1 of 3 in the red zone. That's a good thing. But all the stuff in between that you're talking about is unacceptable. And our players know that. They know that. And, we just talked today about doing your 111. And how important that is, and the mixture of the young guys with the old guys, and we've got to be connected on our styles of play and, all those type of things. So very important that we get those corrected, and that we're very intentional this week about getting those things corrected. It's a lot easier to make those corrections after a win. And there's a, naturally as a human, there's a better vibe after you win, right? So we need to get those things corrected, and we will. We'll be very intentional this week about getting those things.
Does it help in any way knowing that you're playing from what we saw from the Jets?
Yeah.
Yesterday, I'm not sure if you got the film yet, but they seem to have a very much of a running attack.
Yep.
And with a mobile quarterback, does it help facing a similar style?
Absolutely, and that's really what the NFL is turning into, right? I mean, that's what it's. Look at our quarterback, but absolutely it does. Every week is going to be a little bit different. It's going to present a little bit different. But certainly AG's done a great job in New York so far. Their offense, I don't know what they did defensively, but I know their offense did a really nice job yesterday. So we've got our hands full again. It's the NFL, and, the most important thing is taking care of us. I'll tell you what, I thought Dorian Strong, you never know what it's like for the young guys coming in, especially at the corner position. That's a tough position. I believe the 2 hardest positions in the NFL to play are quarterback and cornerback. And he did not blink. He went out there, did not flinch, challenged. Certainly there's some things he's got to improve on, but that was one of the highlights, is the way Dorian played. That's a credit to him and his preparation. He's very professional. Really, really cool to see.
You've been here for
9.
9. All the Derrick Henry matchups over the years, Tennessee to Baltimore. Does it ever feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels a little bit in the moment against him because of how much you've seen him and how he continues to have so much success?
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's going to wear a gold jacket, right? He's going to wear a gold jacket. We've had our games against him where we've had success, and we've had games where he's had more success against us. Regardless of who we play, there's a certain way you got to go about the opponent. I've talked about awareness of your opponents, and there's some things in there, that we have to do, when it just comes to us, like people doing their jobs. And, the more you increase the amount of people not doing their jobs, the worse the result's going to be. And if we can get 11 people doing their jobs and understanding what the strengths and weaknesses of each defense are, play in and play out, we'll be in pretty good shape. But those plays that you saw in between where it didn't look good, that's usually a result of that. Not taking anything away from Derrick Henry. I mean, he's unbelievable, but when you start worrying too much about the opponent, you lose sight of who you are. So we've got to take care of our fundamentals, our jobs, our eyes, our keys, and we just got to get back to square one with it.
Bobby, safety was a big topic of conversation
Mhm.
throughout the summer. Sean addressed it a lot.
Yep.
Taylor and Cole didn't have a ton of time together in the summer because of injuries. What did you make of their performance together?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was some good things in there, and then I think there was some plays that each of them would want back. Every game's not going to be every game for every position isn't going to be, hunky dory. Using two safeties that were here before, Mike and Jordan, every game wasn't. So it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters about the last game is what we do moving forward and understanding the improvements we got to make. Like I said, they each did some good things, and there were some plays that they would want back. There's no doubt that they're aware of that, like every player is, and they want to be really good. They put the work in to be really good, and we'll just continue to bank the reps and of them together, as you talked about, Jay, and we'll continue to grow. Look, if we're peaking right now, we're peaking at the wrong time.
What did you notice about Joey Bosa's first game as a Bill?
Joey Bosa played his tail off, man. Played his tail off. Plays hard, very intentional, wants to be really good. And it's too bad he was rushing really well yesterday. It's too bad he didn't end up with a sack, but he affected the passer, that's for sure. And that's a good passer we went against yesterday.
Is that where you want him, 70% of the snaps for the season, or is it kind of going to be see how it goes?
It's a game by game basis. I think it was at 60 some. I think it was at like 64 or something like that. It was 69. Yeah, no, we'll probably pull that down a little bit. We'll probably put first game. It was only 53 plays. You know what I mean? And we manage that as we go through the game. So we'll make sure we know where Joey's at physically and make sure we kind of target exactly where we want it.
I mean, it seemed like they did a good job of getting up on the ball, going quick.
Yeah.
Making sure you couldn't identify it quickly. And in that stadium, it's so loud. Does that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
On the sideline. That seems like it's a.
Oh yeah.
Can you take us through that?
Yeah, I mean, the every home game, one of the first keys to victory, is our operation. And we got to make sure we got to do a good job, and it starts with me making sure that our operation is one that can be in that stadium with the quality of fans that we have is that we can all operate and communicate accordingly. We want the volume to make it hard on but the volume also affects us. And they were getting up there quick, and I think it was interesting, they had different personnel because they had two guys out, that they're used to playing a lot of snaps. So, it was a little bit of a chess game in there of trying to figure out exactly what it was, but no, they did a good job mixing tempos and all that type of stuff and not allowing the crowd to get to them.
Bobby, with Cole in particular, because he plays safety and, your secondary plays generally every snap of the game, how do you balance with a young player getting him that experience, which he needs, and there's only one way to get it, versus, you could have 9 great plays, but if the 10th one is a disaster, that could cost you a game. So how do you balance, getting them that experience, but if things aren't going well, saying to myself, okay, well, we may need to make a change.
Well, yeah. I mean, Jay, I think that any player that plays 9 plays and the 10th play is a disaster can cost you, especially in the secondary. And
I guess what I mean by that, though, is like if you take a defensive lineman, you're rotating. There's times where he's on the sideline. His position is just talking to him.
Yeah.
You don't have that. You don't have that luxury with a guy in the secondary.
Yeah, no. I mean, the secondary. I mean, you talk about linebackers for the most part in the secondary, and it's flipped on offense, right? The 5-0 linemen play the whole game, but the wide receivers don't play the whole game. So it's there's going to be bad plays. There's going to be bad plays. You think about back to the Hail Murray, what people call the Hail Murray, although there were still like 30 seconds left on the clock. I don't know if everybody remembers, but the three people that were standing next to the receiver were the three All-Pros, and they didn't come down with the ball. So stuff's going to happen in football. What you got to make sure is that your positive plays outweigh the negative plays. If you think a player's going to be perfect, we're all wrong. We're all wrong. Everybody's going to have a bad play. Everybody's going to have a bad play here or there. And a lot of times, what might look like someone's bad play is actually not their bad play. It's, you know what I mean? It's somebody else's, and they happen to be in the area trying to make up for it because they actually did something well. So long story short is that in the secondary, that's like I was talking about with Dorian. Starting as a rookie at corner, that's tough, man. That's tough in this league. And in the secondary specifically, like at quarterback, it is feast or famine a little bit back there, and that's what you signed up for. You want to play DB in this league? That's what it is. I don't know if I answered your question.
What did you see from Terrell?
I thought Terrell started out pretty fast. He did some good things. I think overall there was a little bit too much thinking on our part. A little bit too much thinking, and we'll get that handled on our. But Terrell Bernard's a good football player. He's a good football player. He needs to take advantage of. All our players need to take advantage of the opportunities that come. That's what it's all about. Put yourself in position each play. When your opportunity comes, take advantage of it. Make the most of your opportunity.
How have you seen TB most of all the rookie years?
TB?
Yeah, to stay on him.
Yeah. Just his, he would tell you that his rookie year, he was like, well, just spinning. Just what is happening right now? But I mean, I feel that he's in complete control of what's going on, for the most part. If we had a little tweak here and there, obviously he's going to have questions about, hey, what do we want to do here? What do we want to do there? But, yeah, I mean, I just think the control of what he's doing is noticeable.
It's cliche to say, a guy's always around the ball seems to find him, but in Terrell's case, it seems to be the case. He just seems to come up with the football.
There's something to that.
How is that? Why is that? What allows him?
I don't know. I have no idea. There's those people that just the ball finds them. I can't explain it. Same thing. I always say, I don't know when this game was invented, but the people that are usually square to the line of scrimmage on defense usually play pretty well. I don't know why that is. You know what I mean? And so it's the same idea. I can't explain.
I think about you take the basic, you do pursuit drill.
Yeah.
I watch guys at the end of plays. Some guys everybody's supposed to, you go through the play all the time, like they're almost running, like running backs running the end zone.
Right.
Right? I mean, little things like that. Are those things you can point to?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think there's two versions of it. We call it, some of us call it the disease or the fever of the ball. And I think there's two sides of it. There's the guys that the ball finds them. And I don't know why, but the ball just kind of finds them. And then there's the guys that attack the ball. So I'll give you a great example. Joe Dana was presenting. We talk about our takeaways after games. And he was presenting, and he brought up the story that at some point Ed had got the fever, the disease of the ball, and he's always thinking about the ball. You guys see it. We do takeaway circuit every week and, all those type of things. So I think there's a little bit of a unknown of why the ball shows up around some guys, and usually it's because guys put themselves in position. But then secondly, there's a disease or fever of the ball where guys are going after it, so I think it's twofold. So good. You got it. Come on, John.
I don't know. It's been a long day.
Smart, fast, physical. It's been a long day for everybody.
Oh, come on.
It was
you
late.
forgot the hat? Come on.
Well, no,
Maybe I just need to give John a hat so he won't
I
forget.
didn't get out of Brandon got out of 4:30. I didn't get out of 3:30. So
This morning?
thinking is
4:30? Yeah, Sal looked tired.
So thinking is not usually my strong.
Yeah.
point anyway.
Try getting ready for the Jets.
Yeah.